is a wonderful time today. A strong, powerful brother is going to present a beautiful and insightful lecture for us. And just giving symbolism and symbology behind the tree and eating from the tree and what that really means. Understanding our body and our brain function. It's time for us young brothers to come out and start presenting this information because a lot of the elders are getting up in age, and it's time for us to pick up the mantle and run with it. This is a wonderful time today. A strong, powerful brother is going to present a beautiful and insightful lecture for us. My name is Asar Kiti, and being from a traditional African background, when we started an event, we always pour libations to the ancestors. And what that is what's that about is that we're giving honor and veneration for the ancestors for the event can go properly, for it can go smooth, and so we can have the blessings from the ancestors to guide our words. Okay? No matter what background you're from, no matter what religion you're from, it's the same God, same spirit. It's called different names. So, in the tradition, we usually pour water in the soil outside by a tree or a flower. And since we're not outside, we have a plant here that can do the same job and work just as well. So when I call out, I'll start off and call out an ancestor. Any ancestors that transformed, passed on, died, went to the other side, you can call out. Just so you can give veneration and honoration and power and remembrance. Okay? And also, in the end of at the end, when I call out the ancestors, the proper way to say it is Ashe afterwards. And also, I like to say Hotep also, being from a Kemetic background. So I would say Hotep Ashe after I call out an ancestor's name. And then you all call out an ancestor's name, whether it be, ancestors that was in your family or extended family or distant history. Okay? I will start with Harriet Tubman. Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe.
Henry Smith.
Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe. Malcolm. Hotep Ashe.
Nasheed Watson.
Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe.
Sojourner Truth.
Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe.
Norman Michael.
Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe. Ella Thompson. Hotep Ashe.
Ty Hotep.
Hotep Ashe.
Melvin Harper.
Hotep Ashe.
Dr. Ben.
Hotep Ashe.
Mary Nelson.
Hotep Ashe.
Mama and Jerry.
Hotep Ashe. Hotep Ashe.
Okay.
Hotep Ashe, that divine presence within us. Like I said, many different names, but the same energy, same spirit, same power. So I address people as gods or goddesses, or as kings and queens, or as divine beings. And the reason why is because we all share that same quality that the Supreme Being shares, that the Supreme Being has on it. And what that is omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotent. All present, all knowing, and all powerful. And we all have that within us. And coming soon, keep your ears and eyes open because I'm going to be giving a lecture based on the tree of life and just giving the symbolism and the symbology behind the tree and eating from that tree and what that really means. And understanding our body and our brain functions and understanding like the reptilian brain, what's called the R complex, or the brain stem that we have in the back of our head, and how we share that same brain that reptiles have. We share that same brain with reptiles. and that controls body function. You know, and the reason I'm mentioning this because a lot of us equate ourselves with our persons and our human beings and our flesh. But we'll see that, you know, that's in common with reptiles, you know, and then we have another brain called the limbic on top of that. And that's what we have in common with mammals. That controls our sensations and sensual, you know, attributes and emotions. And that deals with the animal side of us. Okay? So with that said, you know, I want to give thanks first and foremost to Vincent and Judy and the Lov'n It Live staff for hosting this event. You know, let's clap it up for them. And also, me and my goddess, we have a table set up here 7 days a week. And what we provide the community with is science, historical, metaphysical, spiritual, and self-help books and DVDs for purchase, for you all to buy. And I would love y'all support. So after the event, please come back and check out what we have on the table. And also during the week, we're here 7 days a week. Come and check it out because we want to do more things in the community and we need y'all support. Okay? Now, when this brother asked me to come and introduce him, you know, I was ecstatic and I jumped to the, you know, the challenge because this brother inspired me. This brother inspired me because I studied long, you know, I studied long and hard, you know, in metaphysics and science and history. And it's time for us young brothers to come out and start presenting this information because a lot of the elders are getting up in age. And it's time for us to pick up the mantle and run with it. So this brother is definitely inspiring and definitely setting the bar and opening the door for us young brothers to come and present this information that we've learned. So without no more, I'm ready to sit down and take notes from this brother. Okay? So welcome to the stage, you all, Danny Michael.
Thanks to Asar for the introduction. I wanted to add one thing to what he was saying about pouring libations. It's like we all here right now. When we leave, sometimes we forget about each other, you know? And sometimes with death, when somebody leaves, you go on, you focus strictly on what's the most mundane physical thing that's in your life. You forget about those people who kind of left that mundane level as if they don't exist anymore. So it's not, I know sometimes we have a certain problem with looking at so-called dead because we think that's, you know, it's witchcraft and all of this and it's a negative thing, but even just looking at it from a common sense perspective, to remember somebody who had an effect on your life and helped to propel you to a certain point, that's not a negative thing, you know, that's just being intelligent because you can't make something out of a material and then forget about the material that made that particular thing. And then you want to benefit from that object that was made, but when it doesn't work anymore, you have to go back to the drawing board where you got the materials from. And this is what we call the ancestor. Most times when we deal with health in this westernized civilization that we live in, it's always from a dead perspective, trying to get into a life perspective. And what I mean by that is, when you go to school, you study biology, you have textbooks. All of those things in the books that study the body are basically dealing with cadavers and dead bodies. Somebody dies, so to speak, they cut the body open, they cut the brain open, they study the brain after the spirit is gone from the body. So you're looking at a brain that's not even alive, and you're using that for the foundation of how you deal with yourself. And that's backwards. So what we're trying to do is go and look at life from the living perspective, or look at what is the difference between a live body and a dead body, so to speak. And the same thing with our food. You go into nature, you find animals. If an animal is a natural predator, it will be born with the apparatus for catching prey, for digesting the prey. It'll have claws, it'll have fangs. It'll have a certain contour to the body where it can chase the prey, hunt it down. It'll have those instincts that allow it to get that prey without having to have some kind of extra apparatus. Every creature that's on the earth is born with whatever it needs to be what it is. And the problem with us and the fall of man and degeneration of man is that man is trying to be something he's not, instead of being himself. So you have, like we're talking about predators in nature, that's not us. That's why we got to get a knife. That's why we got to get a gun or create one. So we have to get fire and all this. The animals don't need that, you know, and it's because they're going with their divine design. The way that they eat, it has a great effect on their bodies. You look at the disease rates among wild animals. You don't find sexually transmitted diseases. You don't find the teeth falling out of their mouth. You don't find them with gray hair. So this is the approach we're looking at, is trying to look at life from the standpoint of nature, instead of just what the book said. Because sometimes the book is wrong. Because there's a person who wrote the book, and that person could have been wrong. And the book's not that old anyway. You know, man is way older than the books. The sun is way older than the books. Why not read that, you know? You look into the plant kingdom, you look at the, you have trees that live for thousands of years. There's a tree supposed to be in Asia right now that's 9,000 years old. But we look at the tree or the plant as just being something that's just there. It's not no big thing, it's like a chair or something. You kick it over if you feel like, chop it down if you feel like, but it's here to teach a lesson to us. In the plant world, everything, generally speaking, is green. It's like the plate coming up right here. And the green that you find in the plant kingdom is a result of what's known as chlorophyll in the plant. Chlorophyll is an element in the plant that enables the plant to be able to transmit sunlight into energy. We have the same capacity. That's called melanin. But we seem to think we have to get everything from another creature that's getting it from another source. And we got the source, we got the ability to go straight to the source ourselves. The tree, it finds, anybody study herbology and study wild plants, you find that the plants actually have intelligence where they'll find the best place for themselves to grow. You look on the side of the highways, you find all kind of herbs and they're standing up strong. There's nobody taking care of those plants. They knew where to go so they can sustain themselves. Nobody watering that thing with a nice little sprinkler, none of that. They just grow because they have intelligence to know where they need to be so they can catch the most sun, so they can have the best state to exist in without being disturbed by man or mankind. So these are the kind of things we have to look at when it comes to health. Not, you know, if you can bench press a car or not, you know what I'm saying? Because that's not, that's done so you can show off to somebody. That's an outer expression of an inner thing. The whole point is to get the inside to the point where it needs to be. It's just like if anybody studied the Bible and they talk about fasting, they say you show your fasting to no man, because it's not about that. Same thing when we're dealing with the diet. It's an intimate subject, but it needs to be spoken about. So when it comes to the food and your health, it's the same thing. We have to all learn how to focus inwardly to get to the state where we need to be. And that's why I use the example of the tree, because the tree is not trying to impress you. The tree is trying to survive and live out its particular purpose for being here. I kind of want to go back a little bit. Everybody, I don't know, who all has been here before to the restaurant, Lov'n It Live? Most people. Okay. Well, this is a place I used to work. I used to volunteer here. I volunteered here for a year and a few months. And the reason why is because I'm a student in what we call holistic health. And to me, holistic health is more than just about cleaning your colon out or, you know, having pretty skin or something like that. There's a lot of power that all of us have that we don't use because we're trying to do everything physical controls for your television, have iPods, we have all this technology to do mundane things that really are of less importance, as opposed to developing the body to be the instrument that it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be able to talk to each other. Well, actually, we do talk to each other without opening our mouths. We're supposed to be able to hear each other without opening our mouths. We're supposed to be able to communicate with each other beyond just, hey, let me call my man up and talk to him real quick. You know, that's good, but we all have higher powers. And in order to get those powers to function, you have to let the body open up. And when it comes to food, most things that are considered food actually shut the body down. For instance, there was a book back in early 1900s, there was a gentleman named Arnold Eric, Professor Eric, had a book called Mucus's Diet, the Healing System. In the book, he goes to show how all disease in the body, at least 90 to 100% of it, is based on obstructions in the system, debris, or mucus. And basically, whenever there's a foreign matter in the body will actually try to break that down, but it would also create mucus to protect itself from it. Whether that's smoke, air pollution, whether that's processed foods, sugar, salt, dairy products. If it's harming the body's going to create mucus, and that's where you get a lot of worms from. The mucus creates beds for worms to proliferate in the body. It creates beds for bacteria to proliferate. If you don't have mucus in your body, it can be viruses all around you, and they don't have anything to latch onto. It needs mucus, it needs a bed. Everything needs a place to live, if it's gonna live. So it's the same thing in the body. Being here, this is a raw food restaurant, deal with vegan. So vegan raw food restaurant, for those who are not familiar with the term vegan, it simply talks about a diet that is based in plants. You have fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains. You're excluding dairy, which means milk, which means cheese, butter, cream. You're excluding animal flesh and animal byproducts, such as Crisco and lard, stuff like that. And the purpose is to change the state of the body. People have a lot of reasons for doing things, but when you're dealing with health, you have multiple side effects. And normally they're good side effects. You may have a drug that say, if you take this, you're going to lose your eyebrows, your toenails, things of that nature. But when you take, and say, for instance, an herb, if it's doing you any good, it's going to work on maybe your lungs and work on your prostate at the same time. It may give you energy, but it also may help to enhance your focus, your creativity, your memory capacity, and things of that nature. Just like the brother was talking about the different areas of the brain. Sometimes, in many cases, to get there, you have to remove a lot of the toxicity and waste out of the body to activate these centers. There's one center in the third ventricle of the brain that's known as the pineal gland. That's a very special part of the body because what it does, it deals with spirituality. It also deals with creativity. It deals with any kind of higher functions of brain activity that you may have. When they say you only use X amount of percentage of your brain, it's because certain faculties are not on in the body. You have what are called spiritual centers all in the body. They have the whole control board to control everything. You have buttons all in your body. I'll call them buttons, but they're also known as spiritual centers. And these buttons, you have to uncover them because they are full of decay. There's crust on it, so you can't push it down, so it won't activate. But when you clean the body out and you remove a lot of the heavy materials from the body and stop putting them in, these centers will come on. You may become more alert. You may come to the point where you can perceive things a lot quicker, where you don't have to think as much, because thinking is what creates stress. Knowing it doesn't take time. When you know something that's like that, nobody has to tell you. You don't have to wait and look up in the sky. When you know you can move. When you have to think, that creates stress because you got to move through something. And a lot of times, those things that are going on in the mind are taking place in the body. You have trouble getting through something. Sometimes it's a blockage inside of us. And so changing the diet allows for removal of those blockages so that the energy can flow through the body like it's supposed to. Let me get some show of hands. Anybody in here vegetarian already? A lot of vegetarians already. Anybody want to tell the rest of us why? Anybody just raise your hand. Why'd you become a vegetarian?
Well, I'm trying to make it a short story if I can.
Okay.
But I was on a cruise and the brother was doing a holistic seminar on the cruise and talking about how herbs were healing much better than pharmaceutical drugs and things like that. And it made a lot of sense to me. I heard it over and over again, but it made a lot of sense to me. So when I got back to the States, I decided that what I was going to do was cleanse my body, do like a herbal detox, and then just go eat raw food along the way. And so when I did that, I lost like 25 pounds in 25 days. But on top of that, I had diabetes and high blood pressure. And both the diabetes and the high blood pressure was gone after them 25 days. So I really couldn't afford to keep on taking that pharmaceutical medicine and everything like that, and it didn't make sense to me. So I said I might as well just remain this way and just keep on eating the way that I'm eating raw foods and stuff. And that was over a little over 2 years ago. And so that's the reason why I came that. I mean, and all the energy I got from it was just amazing. So I said, obviously, this cooked food, these pharmaceutical drugs that they're giving me, is keeping me sick. And so I decided to live free instead of sick.
When I was a teenager, I lost all my grandparents, and they were in their 50s to just regular illnesses, you know. My mother and my father, one has high blood pressure, my father has diabetes. So I just decided to do something different, and I've been going with it ever since.
One thing I want to touch on, like he mentioned cooked foods and the effects of cooked foods. Many people think it's extreme to go into raw foods and not eat any food that's cooked. But just think about it like this. If you study animals, you study life on Earth in general, you have different kinds of fish, you have mammals, you have reptiles, amphibians, and so forth. You have human beings, you have primates, you have all these creatures. They're not all the same family, but they all do one thing. And no matter, when it comes to eating, none of them cook their food, except for us. I was watching ESPN one day, about maybe 6-7 years ago, and the guys went in hunting deer. And there was a buck grazing, eating some berries. And they pulled up this archery arrow with this bow. And they had a camera right in the scope, and they were showing how they about to kill this deer, shoot him in the side of his head. I don't know how many, maybe 100 feet away, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. They aimed the arrow. They said the arrow should hit him in 1/3 of a second or less. He pulled the trigger on the arrow. The arrow came to the deer's head. He ducked down. The arrow went over his head. He rose back up, looked at the guys that shot at him, and got in the wind. As if to say, you thought, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even a word. It's just looking at him like, and he kept going like that, And that's the reaction time that, man's supposed to have. And we done fell a long way because we gotta get up like that. That's not how we supposed to be. You look at the old kung fu movies, the guy jump from here to on top of the roof, and you say, well, that's fantasy. But how do we know that? You have Michael Jordan. And this is, even from the perspective of diet, it's a person understanding American diet. Defying gravity for fun, for a living, So